all of your favorite recipes. Simply Food.
You should know by now that you're in for a treat.
Simply Food.
There's no other channel where you'd rather be.
Simply Food. Seafood, pasta, cakes, and pies. Sing and laugh and even cry. Like and share and hit subscribe. Simply Food by TY.
What's up, you guys? It's your boy Simply Food by TY, and today I'm going to show you guys how I made some delicious oatmeal cream pies that are 10,000 times better than the ones that come in them prepackaged containers. Okay, let's jump right into it. So in a separate bowl, we're going to start to add in 2 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to then add in 1 teaspoon of baking powder as well as 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and then a half a teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of Vietnamese cinnamon. That's just the kind that I like to use, but you can use whatever type of cinnamon you like. Just make sure that it's good. We're gonna give that a good mix so that all of our dry ingredients are already fully incorporated. That way down the line, we don't have to spend too much time mixing them up later on, and everything will be evenly distributed. Now, this recipe came from my girl Divas Can Cook, and one thing that she always talks about is this raisin puree. So I said, you know what? This time around, I'm gonna go on ahead and try it. So for the raisin puree, we're doing 1 cup of raisins mixed with a half a cup of water, and we're literally just going to blend this down until it becomes, I would say, almost like the consistency of, think like an apple butter or like the consistency of applesauce, okay? You don't want it to be completely liquefied, but you don't want big chunks. This is going to give great texture. It's going to give, it's going to also add a lot of moisture to your cookies later on down the line. So now to our stand mixer, we've just added in a half a cup of butter, softened, a half a cup of shortening, butter flavored, and then we added in 1.5 cups of dark brown sugar. Now, I prefer to use dark brown sugar versus light brown just because to me, it just adds a little bit more of that molasses flavor. So that's a personal preference. Once you get that nice and creamed out, then we can go on ahead and start to add in some more ingredients. You want to make sure that you have everything pretty much at room temperature, specifically the eggs. We're going to add in 1 egg at a time, and that's 2 large eggs in total. Once you kind of see the yolk from the first one kind of disappearing, then you're in the clear to go on ahead and add in that second one. And then, of course, allow that to fully mix together until you see that that's nice and smooth, and then we'll move on to the next step. So now that we got that nicely fully mixed in, we're going to go on and add in a nice teaspoon of pure vanilla. You guys know I love the Nelson Macy. And then we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of molasses. Now listen to me very clearly. Please do not freehand pour in that molasses. If you put in too much, your cookies, first of all, are going to taste like straight up molasses. And also, it's going to throw off the consistency of the cookies. These cookies are already kind of a wet-ish type of batter to begin with. And if you put in too much molasses, it'll mess everything up. So just make sure that you do 1 actual tablespoon. Now we're going to go on ahead and do the same thing as we've been doing, giving that a good mix. Make sure that you guys are periodically scraping down the sides. Now that we got all that done, we can go on ahead and start adding in that raisin puree. And as you can see, I got that to a nice consistency here. It's just the way I want it. And like I said, not only is this going to add great texture and great flavor, it's going to add an extra layer of moisture to your cookies. The one thing that we all know about those oatmeal cream pies is that those cookies are very soft. They're not hard and crunchy. And by adding this in, it's going to keep your cookies nice and soft through and through. So now we're going to go ahead and give this a good mix. You want to really make sure that you got all of this stuff mixed in fully before we start adding in the flour. Because once we start adding in the flour mixture, or I should say our dry mixture, you do not want to overwork it. So I'm adding in mine slowly at a time. Once you start to see that the flour is slowly starting to get incorporated and you're seeing more of the dough kind of form itself, then it's time to turn it off. As I've said many times in all of my cookie videos thus far, you do not want to overwork the dough, especially when there's other things you still need to add to it. So like right now, this is the perfect time to stop, and we're going to do the rest of it by hand. And the reason why I said you want to do it by hand at this point is because we still need to add the oats. And if you allowed it to be in that stand mixer for too long, you're going to overwork the gluten, and that's how you're going to end up with a dry, brittle cookie. And then you won't end up with that delicious soft oatmeal cream pie. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start to add in our oats. We're adding in 2 cups of instant oats, and now we're just going to start to fold those in. Once again, you do not have to overwork this. As soon as you see that the majority of your oats have been fully incorporated, just stop. So while I'm mixing this up, I also have my oven preheated at 350 degrees. Now, depending on the type of baking pan that you're going to use, you want to make sure you're either using parchment paper, or I use the, what is that stuff called? I know y'all are going to end up saying it, and I'm going to end up putting it on the screen because now I feel like an absolute idiot that I can't even think of the name of the what is the silicone mat? I mean, damn. I'm using a silicone mat in my recipe, so that's the reason why I don't need to spray anything down or put any extra paper down. I'm using roughly about 2 tablespoons, but of course you guys can use a cookie scoop. As you can see, this dough, this batter is going to be a little bit on the wetter side. So don't waste your time trying to, form it into a perfect ball. As long as you have it, somewhat uniform on the baking tray, that's really all you need to worry about. But just know that these cookies do spread out a bit. So just make sure you're giving yourself a little bit of space because like I said, these will spread out. Once again, make sure that you guys have your oven preheated at 350 degrees. Once we have all of these on our baking tray, we're going to pop these bad boys in the oven and we're going to bake them for 9 to 10 minutes, okay? Once you take them out of the oven, do not touch them. Leave them on the cooking tray, allow them to cook for an additional, I would say 10 minutes just on the tray. That residual heat from the tray will finish cooking them. Those cookies will still be really soft, so when you transfer them over to your cutting board, still be very, very gentle. You're gonna put a tea towel over these cookies and allow them to sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. That'll give them time to really get themselves together. And then at that point, that's when you'll be able to start putting in, your filling mixture, okay? So don't rush this process or I promise you your cookies will fall apart. They're meant to be really nice and soft. So cover those up with a tea towel and let's start working on the mixture, the filling. So for the filling, we're gonna be adding in 1 cup of powdered sugar. We're going to be adding in a 1/2 cup of shortening. I just use regular vegetable shortening, a teaspoon of vanilla, and then I would say about a tablespoon or so of heavy cream. We're going to give that a good mix and then allow that to become nice and smooth. Now, you can use whatever type of marshmallow filling you want to use. I just use the stuff that's called fluff. But if you want to use jet puff, that's also fine. You want to use anywhere between to about, I would say 7 to 8 ounces of that. And then just make sure that you're folding that in until it becomes nice and smooth. This stuff is going to be really, really sticky. Just make sure that you don't go too overboard because you want this to be able to hold shape. You don't want your filling to be too runny, okay? As you can see, I had my tea towel over my cookies. Now these have firmed up nicely, but are still nice and soft. You can even tell by the way I pick them up and fold them over. I mean, those cookies are very soft. Now, once you start putting your filling in, do not go crazy. If you put too much filling in, they won't look aesthetically pretty because the filling will just be oozing out over the side. Less is more in this situation, especially because once you put down your second cookie to create the sandwich, you're going to press it down a little bit anyway, and then it'll work its way to the edge. So I would say do about a tablespoon and a half. That's no more than what you should need. Find yourself another cookie that's roughly the same size, and you guys have some delicious oatmeal cream pies. I want to give a good shout out to my girl Divas Can Cook. I've been wanting to try out her recipe for quite some time, and I was highly impressed. I'll make sure that I leave her original link to the recipe down in the description box below. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome to Simply Food by TY. If you're one of my returning subscribers, well, y'all babies know I love y'all so much. I am super thrilled with the way these turned out. I hope you guys try them. And as always, y'all babies stay cute and take care. Bye, guys.
Slaying in the kitchen.
Simply Food by TY.
We hope that you enjoyed it.
Simply Food by TY. If you haven't took the time, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Simply Food.